The station was enormous, a shining jewel suspended in space, orbiting a dead star far from the heart of the galaxy. The space station, Zaldar Station, was a place where races from all across the universe came to exchange knowledge, trade, and sometimes engage in diplomacy. Humans, though, didn't come here often. Most alien species saw them as nothing more than stubborn survivors, easy to overlook. But things were changing. Captain Alara Kane, a fierce and resilient human leader, was no stranger to conflict. As she stood in the command room of Zaldar Station, she stared out the window at the distant star. It was dying, and it reminded her of the task ahead. She and her crew had been chosen to negotiate peace with the Icarians, a race of incredibly intelligent and advanced aliens known for their expertise in medicine and biology. The Icarians were a peaceful species, but their arrogance often led them to believe that they were the only ones capable of understanding life. They had made a name for themselves by healing diseases, creating medical marvels, and even slowing the aging process for their people. But they had never seen humans, at least not up close. They had never understood what made them different, how humanity could withstand impossible odds, heal wounds that should have killed them, and survive injuries that would break even the toughest alien species. It was a secret that humans had carried with them for centuries. Their incredible regenerative abilities, the ability to heal. "Captain," came the voice of Lieutenant Arya, a member of Alara's crew, pulling her from her thoughts. "We're receiving a transmission from the Icarians. It's time." Alara nodded, straightening her uniform. She was ready. Negotiations weren't easy, but they were necessary. Peace with the Icarians meant survival for the human colonies on the fringe of the galaxy. They needed this treaty more than they had ever needed anything before. The meeting was set in the Grand Medical Hall of Zaldar Station. Alara walked with purpose, flanked by her trusted crew. The Icarians awaited them, standing in a circle. Their alien forms were tall and thin, with silver-blue skin that shimmered in the dim light. Their large black eyes gave them an almost ethereal appearance, and they spoke in a calm, deliberate manner that left little room for argument. Thrax, the Icarian lead medic, stepped forward to greet Alara. His voice was smooth, almost musical. "Captain Kane, welcome. It is a pleasure to finally meet the humans in person." Alara nodded and shook his hand, her grip firm. "The pleasure is ours, Thrax. We hope we can begin to build something lasting here." The meeting started as expected. Diplomatic discussions, exchange of knowledge, and the sharing of hopes for peace. But things took a turn when a small, unforeseen skirmish broke out outside the station, one that involved an Icarian faction that didn't believe in the peace treaty. Before anyone could react, the room was plunged into chaos. A loud explosion rocked the station and the lights flickered. Alara's crew scrambled to defend themselves. Gunfire echoed down the hall, and the air became thick with tension. Alara, always calm in the face of danger, moved swiftly to command her crew. "Stay close. We can't let them break through." But in the confusion, Alara's attention was suddenly drawn to the danger ahead. A group of Icarian rebels had breached the station, weapons raised. They fired at will, aiming for the humans, hoping to send a clear message that the peace talks were unwanted. In a split second, Alara moved to shield her crew. The last thing she remembered was the sharp pain in her chest as a blaster bolt struck her directly. The world went dark for a moment. When Alara awoke, she found herself lying on the cold metal floor, her breath shallow. The pain in her chest was unbearable. But strangely, it wasn't the pain that worried her. It was the blood. There was so much of it. She could feel her heart pounding in her ears, each beat slower than the last. "Captain," Lieutenant Arya shouted, rushing to her side. "Stay with me!" Alara tried to speak, but no words came out. Her body felt heavy, her limbs weak. But despite the bleeding wound, her body was doing something strange, something she had never experienced before. She could feel the injury begin to close on its own. Thrax, the lead Icarian medic, approached cautiously. His black eyes widened as he observed her healing. This is impossible," he muttered. Alara, now more aware of what was happening, forced herself to sit up. The pain was still there, but it was fading. Her body was regenerating, repairing itself at an alarming rate. The bleeding slowed, then stopped entirely. The skin around the wound began to knit together, faster than any normal organism could heal. "Your body can't survive that," Thrax said, his voice tinged with disbelief. "This isn't possible. No species has this kind of regenerative ability. Elara managed to chuckle weakly. You don't heal like this? Thrax stared at her, transfixed. He had never seen anything like it. Humans were known for their resilience, but this was something else entirely. How are you? Thrax asked, almost to himself. Elara smiled despite the pain. It's just how we are. Humans don't give up. We keep fighting no matter what. Thrax was silent for a long moment, processing what he had just witnessed. He had spent his life studying the biology of countless species, and yet, here was a human, just one human, healing from an injury that should have killed her. It was almost unnatural, but at the same time awe-inspiring. You should be dead, Thrax finally said. No being can survive a wound like that. Your species is different, Elara finished for him, her voice steady. We're survivors. You may have your advanced medical knowledge, but you've never seen anything like this before. We can take the hits and keep going. Thrax stepped back, looking at the human with a mixture of admiration and concern. If you can heal from this, then what else can you do? What else are humans capable of? Elara stood up, the last of her wound vanishing as her body fully regenerated. She was still weak, but the incredible healing process had already begun to restore her strength. You'll see, Thrax. You'll see what humans are capable of. The battle outside had stopped, but the tension remained high. Elara's crew had been lucky this time, but they knew this was just the beginning. They were deep in Ikarian territory now, and the war for survival wasn't over. And they had to be ready for whatever came next. Thrax's mind raced as he observed Elara. The Ikarians had always prided themselves on their medical knowledge, but this human, this strange, powerful species, had something they could never replicate. A survival instinct that defied everything they knew about biology. You're an enigma, Thrax said, his voice quiet. But that doesn't explain why you're so resilient. Elara, now fully recovered, looked at him and smiled. Maybe that's what makes us dangerous. With a determined glance, Elara turned to her crew, signaling them to prepare for whatever would come next. The negotiations were no longer just about peace, they were about survival. And they would make sure humanity's place in the galaxy would never again be underestimated.